So anyway, the thing is that when it came to getting information about what happened on October the 7th, I was just getting the information left and right, just how much of an inside job it was. And then I began to investigate a lot of this. I know that there, and I don't like calling these Jewish teachers rabbis, but I will say it for the sake of the video. Rabbi Mizrahi out of New York, he is a former ID or Air, actually IAF, Israeli Air Force. And he even was saying this was an inside job. He said he still had contacts in Israel, and he reached out to people in intelligence, and they said definitely an inside job. It could just there's because, like you said, and so many others said, even Jonathan Pollard. That's when we first got cut off in our interview. Jonathan Pollard was saying that he had a friend that was a helicopter pilot sitting on the tarmac waiting to take off. They could hear the bombs going off in the distance, but he couldn't get clearance for more than 6 hours to be able to fly. Mitzrahi was saying that when even if a mouse touched the fence, they were up and there within, he said, maximum 3 minutes. They
Mm.
would be there. And I knew this from personal experience of what I had went through as well, that Israel's response was just unbelievable. I used to live on a kibbutz just north of Gaza, and shoot, I could walk to Gaza within 30 minutes. So the idea that the IDF could not respond was totally absurd. In fact, the women that were actually in the very place there where they monitored the fence, every one of them were killed, with the exception of one. And so it was clearly obvious, and this is why I say I hold Netanyahu, the government of Israel, responsible for the death of these people. And then he called for the Hannibal Doctrine, and they because I was just looking at some post today, somebody was saying they said to this one Gaza girl, they said, you know, you want pity, but yet you burned our people. No, even though Hamas did come in and did attack the Jewish people unimpeded for nearly 8 hours. They did not burn the Israelis, but the Hannibal Doctrine, using the tanks, the shells that they used, caused massive fires. And yes, they ended up burning their own people. In fact, one Israeli general openly admitted that on television at first, and they ended up trying to get rid of all the footage where he says this at because he does admit that that happened. So this could have been prevented. And not to mention they planned this a year in advance. Israel didn't have intelligence. Egypt even was constantly, they were warning Israel, you're about to be attacked. They are planning this. They are going to do this 2 weeks in advance. It went all the way to the top in Israel of the intelligence that this attack was definitely coming. It was definitely planned. And as what's the name of the guy? Ron Paul. Ron Paul had even said before, back when he was still a congressman, he was saying before Congress, he says that we have been funding Hamas at the tune of millions of dollars. He said suitcases of cash are going into Hamas on a regular basis. He said we're funding them because Netanyahu wants to keep them happy so that the Palestinians can not get a two-state solution. He said, but in the end, what's going to happen? You're going to end up killing them all. Well,
Yeah.
what Ron
Yeah.
Paul said is what came to pass. And sadly enough, I would say even with all the obvious signs that this was an inside job, I would also add one thing here. If Israel wanted to go in there and try to root Hamas out, it would have maybe been a little bit higher death toll on their side to do it, but it would have been much better and much safer for the Palestinian people living there had a ground invasion been carried out. And they rooted the people out slowly but surely. They've already been there 2 years as it is. They've totally leveled this entire area there. It's too obvious to me, Betty, when I look at this. This was pre planned. It was done for being able to control the gas fields off the coast. It was also done as part of the Silk Road Initiative and the cooperation with China, with the port they had just built in Ashkelon, the second port that China had built. To become one of the major thoroughfares for the industry to travel from China coming through Iran, which is another reason why they're targeting Iran. They want to control that area as well. That all that stuff coming to Israel. Israel as a main hubway, not only for Europe going across the Mediterranean, but also going down into Africa. In fact, Israel made the statement that they are the only land bridge that links Africa to Europe. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, the only land bridge? Are you serious? If they wanted, they could go through Jordan, and from Jordan, they could go through Syria, and then Syria right into Turkey and right on into Europe with no problem whatsoever and bypass that little strip of land. So if Israel is the only landmass that separates Africa from Europe, that must mean that this whole idea of the greater Israeli project, as my wife so often talks about, is something that they're not going to stop until they own everything between the Euphrates and the Nile River.
Yeah. Now,
So,
Joanna, when you talk about you have a passion and so much knowledge regarding the Noahide laws, what are the chances? Like, I've heard that they've already signed them into the education bill in the United States. I'm not sure what it is. I think it goes under Sharia law in Canada. How how do you honestly really think that they're going to be able to push in a whole new judicial system, religious system, whole new way of life for everybody? Are we going to wake up one day and it's just going to be this new living arrangement for us all globally,
Wow.
not just in the
yes.
States?
But let me ask you this question because it is difficult to believe. We have constitution here, right? We have basic right to free speech. But I will tell you, like now, what happened with Carrie Boller, right? She was speaking on anti-Semitism and giving very good questions. All she was saying, I mean, she's a Catholic and we are not Catholics, but I just want to clarify that, but because some
I'm not
people
a
are confused
Catholic
over that.
either. Yes.
But I just want to say that she did an amazing job defending stand why some Christians will never be Zionists. Some, and so she was asking questions, is anti-Zionism anti-Semitism? And they deducted that yes, it is. And now these anti-Semitism laws are passing, and they're gonna pass as hate speech as a criminal law under criminal law. Eventually, this is how they want to do it. They want to actually progress to that. So question is here, before well, I don't want to talk about this. Are you on YouTube or Rumble?
I'm on YouTube.
Then I won't talk about it because I would put
Okay.
you in jeopardy. So I
Yeah,
can't. But
I don't
from
care.
no, it's
Well,
not
we
by
don't want you to
you.
lose your channel. It's the
You
main
would,
thing. There are
yes.
certain words we know how to be a little bit more careful
Okay.
about.
Yes. So I just want to let you know, like what happened in the past, right? To entire world. One day we woke up and what happened, right? Remember? I don't want to
A
say
few
that.
years
All the
ago, yeah.
mandates. We
All
Yes,
the
just
yes.
mandates, well, we
Mm-hmm.
had in America free speech, and I was saying there's no way Americans are going to allow this. Everybody allowed it, So
Yeah.
you couldn't go into a store if you did not comply. So how did this happen? We are a free country. How? And this is what's happening. They're doing it gradually, and they're doing it under the name of a God. That's what they're doing. So Christians themselves they're allowing this. They're going to creep in unawares. That's what will happen. And then one day we're going to wake up and they're going to say, hey, look, we got a chaos, we got emergencies, we have to suspend the constitution, but we have a solution and all infrastructure is ready. We got to come back to God. If you noticed, Trump is talking a lot about coming back to God. America needs to be under God. He even slipped in a strange language that a church and state is separate, but it shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be. He said that.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just like, what? Are you even listening?
Yeah.
Americans, are you listening? Do you know from history, we know what happens when church and state is together?
Well, doesn't it say in the end times that we will return to a political religio authority
Yeah,
again?
one
So
ideology.
the secular will be flipped, and then we'll go back to the religio political
And they're
again.
preparing one world religion, and one world religion is Judaism. because all the power is given to rabbis, power of interpretation. They have taught Christians the Jews are these innocent people with who study Old Testament, and that they don't have, they're always victims. They're the chosen of God, and they're the light of the world. And now ministers like Paula White, who is in the faith office inside Trump's administration, she's traveling often to Israel. She's studying under a female rabbi, okay? And she's studying Noahide laws, and she's saying to Christians in America, you have to learn from Jews. You cannot be a Christian without the Jews, but Jews do not need Christianity to be saved. This is her words. So if this is what they are doing, they're basically trying to smooth us over to this Judaic system. And in what people don't realize, under Judaic system, there is no way of salvation. They don't know Jesus. Okay, they're never going to recognize him as a nation. There will always be, a little remnant that will. And there always was throughout all generations. There was always a tiny remnant that always recognized Jesus Christ and came out of this Judaic rabbinic system. But as a nation of Israel, they're never going to recognize Jesus Christ. They're bringing their political Messiah, and under their teachings, they don't even need Messiah, because they teach that the Jewish people themselves are the Messiah. They are the Messiah. They say that they are the priestly class to distribute the light to the world. And there is only one way with them, and it's through the law.
Can I make a
And
statement?
it's 613 laws for Jews and 7 Noahide laws for non-Jews with 100 sub-laws.
And clarification too, Betty, on that. Jesus Christ was the light to the world. We know that. The gospel began in Jerusalem, just like the prophecy said. When Christians say that Israel does not need Jesus for their salvation, that goes directly against the very words that Moses spoke to them. Moses himself, that's why Jesus said, if you believed Moses, you'd believe me. He says, because he wrote about me. What did he write about him? He said, the Lord thy God will raise up a prophet likened unto me. And all that he says, you are to hear. And those that you don't hear, you will be cut off. Okay? There is no middle ground for this.
Right.
And Moses told them that God did this because they could not handle God's presence coming down. They could not handle God coming in the midst of them. They said they were too afraid. He said, so what I'll do is I'll raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. And everything that he says, they are to hear. And he clearly says that he would cut them off if they don't hear it. He kept his promise. He kept his word, and it's my desire that Jewish people would believe. I mean, and what's so sad is I watch Christians today try to take everyone back and put them underneath these rabbis in Israel. You literally crucify Christ all over again.
Yes.
You are totally rejecting him. And and we're right there at the door. So it's no wonder why there's Noahide laws. And by the way, that's why they had this big dispersion of Arabs throughout the entire world. And the Arabs are no different. They have to come through the same walk as the Jewish people do. And many of them do come to Christ. I mean, some of the greatest evangelical movements in the world are in Arabic countries, just like Iran. Thousands upon thousands of Christians. I think 3 million Christians in Iran right now, most of them in secret, but amazing, those people that are believing there. So
yeah, I heard there's an explosion of people turning to Christianity there. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
yes.
It is. And I wanted to just point out, then I said that people think that Jewish people just study the Old Testament. That's how Christians in Western world understand Jews, but that's not true. You see, the written law in Old Testament, that's not even important to them. They call it Tanakh. Okay, Tanakh is part of Torah, but when a Jewish person says the word Torah, what a Christian in the Western world does not understand that the Jew does not mean the Old Testament. They're talking about Talmud, Zohar, and Kabbalah.
Yes.
And Chabad organization talks about Tanya. On top of that, they have extra biblical material called Tanya. And they go by that because they believe that it was revealed by their lineage of rabbis. It's not rabbis, it's rebbe, which is a messianic title, and it's a dynasty. And it's basically a Jewish cult that took over Judaism itself. And it basically grew to such power and influence, and they're so well funded. And they are in every government of the world,
Yes.
especially American government. In fact, what connects Trump and Putin is the Chabad organization. Yes. So, right, go ahead.
Their origins kind of go back to the Khazarians, which nobody's ever heard of. The nation of Khazarians came out of the Ukraine-Russian area. That's why you get a lot of Russian Jews. That's where they speak Yiddish. Am I correct in that? There's a lot of it's that's a
Right.
hard area to kind of research because there's a lot of stuff. You can get it on their website, though, the Jewish website. I believe they go into the Khazarian background somewhere.
There's several rabbis that actually, Rabbi Fink out of Russia that openly admits it. Professor, what was that professor's name that I sent to you? I was playing his video. Wait a minute.
It's so hard to remember all these
Yeah,
names,
but
but
anyway, he's a professor, and they were interviewing him, and they said, "What about the anti-Semitic statement where they say that Jews are Khazarian?"
Chomsky.
Yeah, Professor Chomsky, and
Yes.
Professor Chomsky says, "That's not anti-Semitic, it's the truth."
Yes.
Right here he is, a Jewish guy, right? And he says, "My grandfather was a rabbi. His grandfather and father was a rabbi." He says, "We converted to Judaism under the Khazarian Empire." He says, "But it doesn't matter. If you're a convert to Judaism, you can still be a Jew." Now, in clarification, though, Betty, I think what's very important for people to realize in Israel today, especially in Israel, you do have a lot of Khazarian European Jewish ancestry that is there because of after the Holocaust they moved there. But we also have what we call Sephardic Jews, and the Sephardic Jews are from the Spanish Inquisition. Most of those Jews were Jews that came over from northern Africa and migrated into Spain. So they tend to be a little bit more Arabic looking, we would say, Eastern, or that type of the world, right? And then we have another type of Jew as well. Gosh, I forget the name what they're called, but they're the Arabic Jews from the true Middle East, like Yemen Jews and Iranian and Iraqi and Syrian Jews.
Ethiopian.
Yeah, well, the Ethiopians are another group altogether as well, and that was through Solomon, his marriage to the queen there. But it doesn't mean that every Ethiopian would be Jewish because that would mean he'd have to birth the entire nation, and he didn't. But nonetheless, they're still given that lineage, but especially amongst these Arabic communities like the Yemenites, but they're hated by the Khazarian, I call it the Khazarian mafia that runs the Knesset. They despise them. And a good friend of ours, Barry Chamish, used to live not far from us in Florida. And Barry would always write. He wrote the book "Who Killed Yitzhak Rabin," became very famous from that. He was also an Israeli, former IDF soldier, and uh, and and Barry would always expose how the Khazarian Jews were killing and intentionally trying to massacre on different types of levels, like through the experimentation of the ringworm children articles that he wrote and books that he's written about that, where they did experiments on all the Arabic Jews, Sephardic Jews is what he would say, in order to try to limit their numbers. Or they kidnapped 2,000 Yemenite Jews, sent them into families into to Europe so that the Ashkenazi families could end up having them grow up as children, intermarry among them, so they could get some kind of a Jewish blood lineage going.
It's it's an Ashkenazi mafia, basically. They are Europeans, mostly Russian. As you say, they speak Yiddish, which is a complete mix of very modern Hebrew, German, and some
Yeah.
Eastern European languages. So they are Jews by conversion. And even their own DNA studies have proved that. This is why Israel makes DNA testing illegal for their citizens. It's not legal in Israel to just, you can't get a DNA test when you're Israeli. It's very difficult. And the reason is because they're hiding this from their own people, who they are, who they truly are. So this is why Christians need to understand they're not dealing with ancient Israelites here. Even the name of state of Israel, that's just a, how would I say, that they stole that name, Israel. So that way you cannot recognize the prophecy, so that you give them everything in a prophecy, you know.
Right.
So it's a
I think that had a part
discipline,
to do with the
you know.
Schofield doctrine as well. If they're going to try to say that 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 Israel is going to be a light to the nations, they know that it says in the scripture that both Judah and the house of Israel have to be there. And the only time that we ever had all 12 tribes present was during the time of Passover and Pentecost.
Yeah.
Scripturally, that's exactly what Peter says in the book of Acts: be it known unto you, O house of Israel, this same Jesus whom you have crucified is made both Lord and Christ.
So all of this was fulfilled.
So
They will look upon him that they pierced. That's not future. That has fulfilled already. They were right there in the book of Acts. It's all described, and they're saying this is right there in the book of Acts. It says it's a fulfillment of the prophecy. So they're, by putting it in the future, this is how they can deceive you. So that's why it's so important for Christians to study prophecy,
yes.
know that it was fulfilled and how and when. So that way they don't put it in the future, because they're giving over power to this beast that is forming. And it's the dispensational Christianity that has created this monster that's going to be killing Christians. They're killing Palestinians now, but we are all Palestinians now. Why? Because they have televised this genocide. They have, in front of the eyes of the whole world, they have performed an ethnic cleansing and genocide of people, killing children, bombing them, killing them with drones. Okay. So they're building up Gaza. Now, Jared Kushner has a very good plan for Gaza. He presented it in Davos. Okay. He showed that they want to build all these skyscrapers and AI centers and you name it on the dead bones of children that they killed. And some dispensational preachers are saying that this is the future kingdom of Jesus Christ. I mean, people, you have to wake up. Wake up.
You mentioned
You know?
something that I thought was fascinating one time. We were discussing it, I forget who it was, and you said, you told me like this here. You said, think about it. This is Jewish prophecy, or maybe it was Zionist prophecy with the evangelical Christians, and we were there at one time. So I don't want to bash Christians that are blinded to this. I want them to be helped. I sincerely want you guys helped, right? But you
That's
made a
why I'm
comment.
exposing this. Yeah,
Yes,
this is why it
Thank you
needs
for
to be
doing it.
exposed. I
Thank
have a platform. Let's just go ahead, but continue.
right.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect, Betty. Here's what got me. Yana said one day, she said, I don't understand the logic of this. And I'm just paraphrasing her words, and I want her to expound on it. But she says, and there, she said, I was listening to Amir, and as he says, and with Jack Hibbs, and they're saying, yes, we're going to bring all the Jews back, and 2/3 are going to die. And she says, that's supposed to be God's plan.
They're putting Jacob's trouble into the future. They're telling dispensational Christians here that they don't have to worry about it. All the tribulation is for the Jews, and they're going to be raptured up to heaven for
But
protection.
it's the way you said it. You said they're going to come back.
So,
God's going to kill 2/3, and you said what a wonderful way for God to be able to get the
yeah.
Jews and so that way when he kills 2/3, the other third are going to say, "Oh wow, man, I should have had a V8."
So basically, they're teaching that yes, God is regathering all these Jews to Israel, okay? But the 2/3 of them are gonna die in tribulation, and 1/3 will be refined by fire and survive, okay? So for real, God is really doing this right now, sending all the people to Israel just to kill the 2/3 of them. Does it make any sense? After Jesus is already revealed, the Father, and after we know that the Father is nothing but love, and our commission is to preach the gospel. So that's what Amir was saying in a huge mega church. So imagine these types of doctrines are fed to Christians, and they are swallowing it without any critical eye or critical thinking ability. No, I'm not trying to put them down. We were there, we were blind. But we were asking questions, and thank God that he brought us out. But we would like to help as many as possible to come out, because this system that's building might be temporarily successful. Might be. I don't know I cannot say to what extent they will be successful. Okay. And maybe many people will die. Maybe they're gonna, just like Palestinians, look at them. If anybody has tribulation right now, these are the Palestinian people. They have the tribulation.
Palestinians,
Look at,
Syrians, Lebanese,
yes.
people in the West Bank. I mean,
Yeah. And these are
it's
Christians there. They're stealing their
yeah.
homes and they're killing their children. Why is God not rapturing them out? Right? So this is the thing, that I don't know to what extent they will be successful, how many people will die, if we're gonna have to be martyrs for testimony of Jesus. I don't know how far this will go, but one thing is certain, and it's that Jesus Christ is going to intervene, and this system is going to destruct. It's either going to self-destruct, or God is going to do a destruction of this system, because the amount of blood and innocent blood that they're spilling and lies they're doing, you know. So when Bible says they are touching apple of my eye, that's not the Jews. Jews are the ones doing the killing of all these innocent children. God loves that Palestinian child just the same as he loves Canadian child or American child. Same way.
Yes.
He's not a respecter of persons. And we say that we are pro-life. I mean, we go here
Wow.
to rallies.
There you
Oh,
go.
we are pro-life. We are against abortions. Okay, fine. But how about when they're born already? We can
Okay.
kill them,
Let me
you know?
let's bring up a
So,
point on that right there, because you brought up a video that I did on Noahide laws 6 years ago.
mhm.
When I saw it, I remembered it, but of course I had forgotten so much about what I'd said back then. And I kind of did one day while I was waiting on you to get ready, because we were going to do one together, I think a day or two later. One of the issues I hit on from the Sansino Talmud, because in Tennessee is where it's at right now, but we have it on our bookshelf, the entire thing. So I actually pulled the book itself and showed the people. One of the issues that they have when you violate a Noahide law, the question comes up. This is one of the sub laws. If a woman that is a Gentile has violated the Noahide law and she is pregnant, do you kill her anyway? The sub law says if she's not on the birth stool giving birth, you kill her. If she's on the birth stool giving birth, you let her birth the child and then you kill her and save the child.
What
Lovely.
kind of theology
This
is
is
this?
okay. We're talking about sub laws. That's a sub law of the Noahide laws. So when you're worried about certain things like that, don't worry. They covered it all already. They got every plan for the Gentiles already on what they're going to do to you.
But they're not going to tell you what the sub laws are. They're going to package it in a nice with wrapping paper and a bow. And they're not using the Talmud that they study out of, or that they use, is the Babylonian, not the Jerusalem, correct?
Yes, but even Jerusalem Talmud is no good, but
It's
it's gentler, I would say. However, the Babylonian is the one that they go by. That's the one that they study.
You know what's so interesting when Betty just said this? I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, she says like they package it, right? They're only going to give it to you nice and neatly.
Mhm.
You know, here's where people should really think about it. If you have to go to a specialized school for judges to learn the Noahide law, why do you have to go to a specialized school if there's only seven of them? I mean, you don't think a judge can't memorize seven laws?
They already gave a lot of sub-laws,
But no,
you
you
know,
see what
but
I'm saying though? Do you understand that?
I do.
They go to a university specific training for judges to go to the in-depth knowledge about all these sub-laws. You know, I can't help but wonder, do some of these judges get in there and they start going like, "Oh my God, that's what we got to do?"
and
Especially,
they're
right? You
cross.
know, how do they reconcile that, right? We got the death penalty because the woman's pregnant. She's 8.5 months pregnant. She's due 2 weeks from now. We can kill her.
I think it's
When
money.
she's birth. Oh, wait a minute. Let's let her get the baby out, then we'll kill her. I
I
mean,
think they're influenced by money, maybe.
No, it's devil. They serve different
yeah.
God than Christians.
Well,
Okay.
Yes.
Jesus said that.
It's Satan, that Lucifer is their father. I mean, that's their God. They are just lying to Christians that, when in interfaith they say Christians, Muslims, and Jews have the same God. That's not true at all. We serve loving God.
Yeah.
We are told to love our enemy. We are told to give the other cheek. We are told loving and kindness and a respect for life in every sense. Okay. We gain people by love, not by force.
Yes.
But they gain people by force, by threatening them. We're going to kill you if you don't obey. That's not God's way. Jesus came to show us the Father. So their Father is not our Father. And it's very visible. So that's why when they speak of Noahide laws as universal ethics, we got to be careful because they are selling it nicely wrapped up like a Christmas present under the tree, you know. And then you
Mm-hmm.
open it once you find yourself in that system, and you will be very surprised how the system is going to explain Noahide laws. And when they are putting and placing Noahide courts, according to Noahide law, there are to have Noahide courts in every district. That's why they opened up Noahide Academy, where they're training judges, and they especially are asking lawyers to sign up. Right now, they're in a stage where they kind of want voluntary people to come. They just want people to come, and they are very successful. People are coming to them. Yes. So they are growing immensely. They already have written out Noahide Manifesto with all the structural preparations, how global structure is going to be functioning. They describe it. They're going to have Noahide flags. And I kind of say Noahide flags are going to be next to every nation's flag. And that's how you know that this nation have accepted Noahide laws. Just like there is this litmus test that now they're asking all these nations to put their embassies in Jerusalem. Why? Why should we have embassies in Jerusalem? For preparation of future Noahide courts, because Sanhedrin is at the head of these courts. So all the nations have to be right there in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the global structure will work. So right now it's still in this preparation of all this infrastructure stage, but those who are watching, they can see what is happening. I don't know how many years we have till this is all ready. They're very excited. They call
Mm-hmm.
this redemption, tikkun olam. That's the name that they go by. Tikkun olam is they're repairing the world, and a redemption. They say God will give them to be the priests of the nations and give laws out of Jerusalem. They say Isaiah, with its prophecy that law shall come out of Jerusalem, there will be the fulfillment of that prophecy as a future. That's what the Jewish eschatology teaches. But you see what Steve can tell you, that that particular prophecy was already fulfilled when Jesus was in Jerusalem and he spoke of the law of love. That's when it was fulfilled. The law did come out of Jerusalem. It was a law of love, Christ's law of the new covenant. So this is why we have to, as to Christians, we have to restudy, kind of peel the onion of the old dispensational teachings, restudy it in a proper context, so that way we can fight and defend our faith. This is a spiritual war. And you can't defend. Most people, when they are confronted by dispensationalists, they go in a corner and they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They don't know how to defend the faith. They don't know what to think. And right now, there is a lot of confusion. So that's why we need preachers, teachers right now, who have it all figured out, how to help Christians to understand what is going on.
Yeah. And I find if I ever try to explain it to anybody, as soon as I say Jew, then they go immediately to the Holocaust and they don't want to hear about it. And how dare you? And you can't even get even a second of any kind of